lunchroom thing, but that's all staff in the lunchroom together.
What about in the
Yeah,
We
it's
always
not
have to
big
meet in a
enough.
classroom now with all the stuff.
Or the
We'd have to
gym,
go to
yeah.
the classroom, yeah.
Not the gym.
Gym's not very
It can
No,
get really
and it's
cold, actually.
freezing in
Yeah.
there.
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
freezing.
an equity.
I did a workshop there one time. We had a conference there one time. They must have got chairs.
Or something.
Okay. Today's date is
26?
no second.
I'm
What
like-
am I thinking? 26. I have no idea why I said that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, because I was
I feel
thinking
like
46
this
at the
group
same
keeps
time.
smaller.
February?
Oh, two.
I
Yeah,
was thinking of
or
Yeah.
sick when you do too. You guys might say it. Do you do month,
We
day,
have to-
or
Everyone's
day
sick.
month?
I feel like
Oh,
there's
it's
no
different.
order. I
It
feel
doesn't
like-
matter.
I just
I
do-
feel like-
it's everything's different, I find.
I just do February.
I feel like, why don't
Yeah,
we
I
just
always
like
do that.
pick one and everyone stick to it? But
In
I
the
don't even
US,
use the
we
lines
just
all the
do
time. Say-
month, day,
Yeah.
or
always.
always month day. That would be easy, but
What do you always do in the US?
Month, day.
okay, like you
here,
say, October
sometimes-
27th.
Yeah,
Yeah, sometimes.
yeah, sometimes. And sometimes I'll put day month just to seem like I'm working. But if you guys don't care,
No, I get frustrated because it's always different. There's no real.
right, you're like.
My mom's watching.
The only way to
Sometimes
know.
it's obvious, but.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to think
It's
about it.
ambiguous, yeah.
All right. If you guys want to watch, I'll share the link in the
We
comments.
need to use a class. I was just thinking we need to use a classroom too because he needs the smart board to project the lesson.
Yes.
Luciana studies.
There's no tables though.
Oh, there's two.
Filled with stuff.
Yeah, but Lena and Trevor don't come anymore, so I don't really want to invade their space.
Right.
Like unless they're coming. Like if they're coming, that'd be great. But I
Yeah.
don't want to be in their classroom and
Yeah, it's true.
moving their stuff around when they're not there.
Never
And they just
felt a desire to
Yeah.
jump over to some other aspect of civic.
Yeah, it's fine. We can just use my classroom. The chairs are semi large-ish.
18. What's 8? It's a wounded.
At least it's more of those bathrooms. And whatever.
I think so. That's look like. Oh, I flossed my teeth yesterday, and for some reason, I could floss all the time, but for some reason, it's like hurts now. Do you hate that when your gums hurt after you floss? You floss once a year?
like right before I go to the dentist. Maybe a week before I'll start again.
Mm.
I'm so bad. But I have retainers underneath.
Yeah, I
and it
do
just
too.
makes it. I have to use this.
Mm.
It's just a pain.
Mm.
I'm just lazy.
الحسوت لا هو ومحسمة سي وتويوتشيت سي تشيت سي لي مقصدي أني سو هو سنتشيت وقتك شيء وتس تلقي تو قابل سو ونوتني سو حشتك إيجاي كو تسي تسيقيك إنوجان والأب أحد تعرفني سك تعرفني سكن أتكشف محسسي إيجم قن جستر أنك هنتشك كلاجتني لي مقصدي أنك وكنتني و أتكشف ستلا تشاءت هو بجسد أني أوصل أحكو إنسما أحد هو أدح أني سوهل أبني و إن تنيس أحد حاجتك هو أدح إيساك ستالين هو بيت ستالين جملة أحكو مانكوت أحد ويكس تشيكشت ويكتشت قس أقل سو عتكشت قوقو أتسا George, go to in. Let's speak new channel. Akakat nas. Akakat nas.
Moochie.
Muchi lakma. Muchi lakma.
There's 8.
Unachis
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
So keep it.
It's how you reach.
Ish Akchi. Akchita.
What's Akchita?
Sakit.
Date on the calendar. Remember, it's the
Oh,
date
okay.
on the calendar.
Ish Akchita.
It's definitely different.
Sakit. Ish Akchita. Akchita Suk. Wayakupas.
Ayatin?
Items. Sakit Ish Akchita Aklukma. Items. It's the 22nd of February. Sakit Ish Akchita Suk Items. And of course, now we're telling time according to the Nuchanov translation of the Western calendar, but we're making an effort to move back towards a traditional Nuchanov calendar, which means that the Nuchanov date will be completely different from the Western date.
What's the last word again? Sorry.
Items. Can anyone explain items?
Sweeping?
That's right. This is the false herring moon. The root right means false or lie, and im is an ending for round things, including moons.
Because it's sweeping the leaves away from October.
So where do you get that?
Akanat hadnas. Akanat hadnas. Tlahui. Akanat hadnas.
Matlukma?
Masukma.
Matlukma?
Oh, there.
Masukma.
That's cool, right?
Ha. Isana?
Kwisadskin. Kwisadskin ma.
Is it snowing?
No, but it's
was.
snowy.
Is it? Oh, I didn't even notice.
A bit snowy, is that what that is?
Kwisadskin. A little snowy.
Oh, yeah, it's skin.
Kwisadskin. Masukma. Kwisadskin. Yes, Alison?
Sunny is different than, it's the same as hot, but it wasn't really hot, right?
We get the klapa.
Sunny, how do you say sunny?
There's a warm, nice weather, and then there's.
Yeah, as
warm
far as I
weather.
know, we use the same word for sunny and hot
And hot, so you
in
could,
this dialect.
The other one's nice, I think.
There's in
Where is nice?
northern Nuchanov, there's a word klopin that they use for sunny, klopin, but I don't think that's used down here. Have you ever heard that, Chester? Klopin?
Yeah.
How is it used where you grew up?
When it's warm during the day.
So it means warm.
We kupa.
Klopa,
Yeah, that's all we say. Kupa.
klopa,
or you could say klupatlin.
klopadskin.
Skin, sorry.
Mhm.
Klupat.
Klopadskin, klopadskin
A little
mitta,
warm, yeah. A little bit warm.
Okay.
Kupa-ish
klopadskin.
is when it's warm already, kupa-ish. in Central.
And then when it's really warm, it's that you add something double, right?
Yeah.
How would you say it's really warm or hot? Like you'd add something extra, right?
Can someone say it's really hot, really warm? How would we say that? Well, anima klopa means something like it sure is, like you're really agreeing with someone, but it doesn't mean very in the sense of more than usual. How could we say very hot?
I don't know. I just know you can.
Yeah, we studied two endings together. One of them was skin.
Ak?
How would you add that to klopa?
It's
just-
it's warm out. It's nice. Yeah.
Close. You want to say klopaka? Klopaka.
That's what it
This
is.
means a little bit.
Yeah, this ending, kak has a disappearing hue that's pronounced only after vowels and nasals, and since klopa ends in a vowel, we pronounce the Q. It also shortens the first two syllables of its stem. So klopa, which is usually short long, becomes short. Klopa. Klopaka. So klopaka, very simple. We get that klopaka. Klopadskin mitta. It was a little sunny today. Klopadskin mitta.
Very hot.
Masukta and cold. Quisatskintla, and a little snowy, Quisatskintla. Histakshititsi, Malatsant, Hiat Nitina, Quiyasit, Tashii. I came from Malacan today, where the DT dots live, and the road was snowy. Quiyas.
My son wrote on that road today too for Banfield.
Yes. Quiyasit, Tashii. The road was snowy.
And the road is Tashi.
Yeah, Tashi is a general word that means anything that you use to get from one place to another. It means road, path, gate, door.
Okay.
Quiyasit, Tashi. Histakshititsi, Malatsant. I came from Malacan. That's an example of how we can use histakshit to mean where we just came from. It doesn't only mean our original place. So it's just like the English expression come from. It can mean where you originally come from or where you just came from. Histakshititah, Malatsant, Hiat Nitina, Quiyasit, Tashi.
So what's Quisatkin then?
Quisadskin. Quisa plus skin. Quisa, snowing.
A
Snowy?
little.
Skin, a little.
Thank you.
So it's hairy. This is called hairy.
And then mit'a, what does mit'a mean?
Can anyone analyze mitta? What do I mean by mitta? Mitta is the past tense ending,
Oh, okay.
and ma is the same as ma. But when ma comes after mit, it's often pronounced, it contracts to mitta. We often pronounce the past with an immediately following mood ending. And when we get mit plus ma, it's pronounced mitta. Muchis atma, tlahui.
I don't know how Tishat thing to like Quisatkin. It's a little bit snowing.
Mhm.
Sometimes it goes into Quisatu.
Quickly, that's what I was thinking.
Quick
That's what I
was
was
at
saying. Yeah.
Quisatu. It's snowing, starting to snow a little bit.
That's what I was thinking of, because we use it, you use it for other things when you, yeah.
when I
It's the same way.
Yeah, I think so. Recognized it. Okay, right down the other thing.
when
It's
I
the same word, the same, means the same as
quick
Quisatkin.
was at.
Yeah.
So we're seeing the same root here.
Yeah.
Quis, qui is also the same root. Quis. When we talk about snow being on the mountains, we use the word quispe. Quispema nuchi.
Sounds like he's saying whiskey. Never mind, my goes. It gets distracted real easy.
Nuchi or Nuchu, mountains. Quispe, snow on top. The mountains have snow on top. Quisquema nuchi. So what we see is we can take the same root, quis, which means snow, and depending on what we're describing, we might use different endings to describe it. When we talk about the mountains, we use pe, because we're talking about the top of the mountain. When we talk about the road, we use the ending us, because that refers to the ground. Quisa has, the in quisa is an aspect ending. That's something we touched on. And its aspect is a very important topic, but it takes a while to grasp. And Chester gave us this interesting word, quiquisatu, starting to snow.
Yeah.
Quiquisatu.
Yeah.
Can you tell me the phrase or snow on the mountains again?
Quispema nuchi.
Nuchi, okay,
Quispema nuchi.
Okay, nuchi.
And the root nuch, which means mountain, happens to be the root of the word nuchano. Nuchan, that literally means mountain range or along the mountains. And it refers to the mountain range that runs down the middle of Vancouver Island, which is the last thing you can see when you go out into the ocean.
The Beaufort Range, eh? starts from here, right? The
The
Beaufort
Beaufort
Range.
Range, I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, it's the Beaufort Range.
George Mochi Atma, Tlach Uyi, Zapets ish at Chithas Atluk item, Gusadskin Mita, Wick Tlopakak, Tlopadskin, Masukta. That's the weather report for today. It is Thursday, 22nd of the fall spawn moon. It was a little snowy today and cold, not very hot.
See, the false moon, can you say that one again?
Item,
Okay, okay, and then you said it was a false herring moon
yeah, false herring spawn.
spawn, but we don't put that in there, we just make that word.
Right.
Okay,
That's right.
I was looking for a herring
Yeah.
somewhere.
The moon after item is Ayakim, which is herring spawn.
Okay, I got it now.
All right, Chooch.
Okay,
Chooch, would anyone else like to give the weather report? Can anyone put those sentences together? Those are all pretty simple sentences that we've learned how to make. Even though it makes sense, I think lots of us could break that down. It's hard to spit out, right? Because it's such a long, complicated word. But you can tell give the weather report in your own way. Anyone want to try? A chak hamanakwit masa. Who wants to try? A chak hamanakwit masa. Allison wants to try. Go ahead, Allison.
Okay, I'm gonna butcher it, but I'll try to. I'm remembering it's mostly from what we do in the mornings, but okay. So the day is Muchich.
Muchi, Atma.
Muchich Atma. The month is, what's it say there? Takit ish Atla Chitla?
Atchi.
Atchil.
Zapets ish atchi.
Oh, sorry. Takit ish Atchil. And then, so I was say something after that. I think.
True.
Okay.
Zapets ish atchi. The 22nd.
Yeah.
Atma, it is now.
Atma. Okay.
Itim Atma, it is now
Item.
the false moon.
Okay.
True. Akanat Hanas, how's the weather? Akanat Hanas.
Quisaklin.
Kusadskin.
Sorry. Quisaklin.
Kusadskin.
And I'm thinking, I've got Etian Dan stuck in my head, which is Chinese for a little bit. My head's going in Chinese for some reason. And then, Klupa Skinita.
Kupadskin. It was a little hot, little sunny.
Yeah.
Not hot, but sunny. Kupadskin.
And then you could say Quisquimanucci. There was some snow on the mountains.
Kuskemanuchi. True.
Sorry.
So next time someone else will get a chance to whether. Are you ready, Moira? Were you raising your hand to volunteer? Go ahead. Good try.
The date?
Whatever you want to say.
Oh.
Yeah, when I teach people to speak publicly, I tell them it's different every time. Say whatever you think is appropriate at the moment.
Okay, so Muchich Atma.
Muchi Atma.
Um, 20, my brain's just Sakits ish ak Chich ak uk ma, right? You have to say today is.
Quick
But
minutes.
would it be after, do you put the mood ending after the uk or the?
It'll go after the ook. Wherever the ook goes, the mood ending will go after that.
Ma. I tip. And then what was to say to like today, like now?
Tlahwi. Or Tlahnasi. There's lots of ways to say today.
Okay, so
One way
you
is
could say
Tlahwi.
Quis Atskin. It's already Tlahwi.
Kusadskin. Tlahwi.
Atskin.
Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, Chester.
I'm wondering how you say yours for a calendar. Is it Hupach?
Somewhat, I usually say is Hopatlas.
Yeah,
Have you heard that?
yeah,
Hopatlas?
Hupach with the numbers on there.
Mhm.
Is that what that means, so?
Hupach,
That's what some people call a calendar.
yeah.
Hopatlas. So Hopat means moon,
Mhm.
and At is the same ending as this. It means on a screen. So moon on a screen is a calendar. Hopatlas.
Where did you write it? Oh, here.
وشنو يتبت؟ تاهو ومحسوة.
Calendar.
Very good. Moira and Allison, you both said that you were feeling nervous and stuff was going off in your head. Can you say a little more about how you felt just now when you were put on the spot? Was it just the nervousness of speaking in front of people, or was it also something that tends to happen when you try to speak in Toronto?
It's neutral.
I think it's not, I don't know, I was practicing the phrases about speaking, about what your name is and where you're from beforehand. So I had that more in my head, like that's more memorized. And this, I don't feel it's fully memorized. So I'm like having to, like, it's not in my long-term memory yet. There's more short-term memory. So it's a little bit harder to access. Just, I don't know. Because it's slightly different. We do it slightly differently at Halifax. And yeah, I still find it hard to read New Chalmers. So
would you say that most of the New Chalmers you speak is memorized New Chalmers instead of spontaneous New Chalmers?
Yes.
I'm getting there. Like obviously, yeah, I don't.
What do you say? What would you say?
Like today, I was able to say different ways of saying introducing yourself. So I was able to mix them up and stuff like that, which you recommend.
Right. Yeah, we will get to that.
How would you say the date? How would you have said it this morning?
We just say.
We say Sakits ish akla jizla. Is that incorrect?
That's not the way I've heard it, because Atla is the word is the number 2.
Yeah.
But when Atla joins up with certain endings, it's pronounced At. And Chief is one of those endings, and every elder that I've worked with says At Chief. Yeah.
Okay.
But I also don't tell anyone how to speak. I just report how I've learned it. And there are lots of endings. There are lots of endings that when you add them to Atla, Atla is still pronounced Atla. It seems to be counting endings that are pronounced At.
Counting scares me.
What's that?
Counting scares me.
Oh, why is that?
I don't, I have to get all my fingers out. And then if we go past 10, I have to take off my
Well,
socks.
it's still rote.
No,
I feel
yeah.
like my 5-year-old. When I'm
Yeah.
counting and I have to go.
You can't.
It's rote. I have
It's
to do
yes.
it
I
all.
find it so hard to think of like saying
Yeah.
what 8 is. You have to count up. Find
Yes.
Out.
Yeah,
And
like
then
my
you
kids.
practice it, yeah.
Yeah, I think, and I've told you that I feel different when I'm trying to do math or speak numbers in the second language. I can tell that it's accessing a different part of my brain because it feels different and it's harder than just speaking words. I asked you to say something about how you felt when I asked you to speak, because I think that whatever's making it difficult for you is probably something that most people in this room are feeling. And so we're talking about that and how we can overcome that. Part of it is just simple nervousness, and the only thing that helps with nervousness is confronting it over and over again. And that nervousness, in my experience, never goes away, but it gets less and less each time. But there's something else. Well, there's several other things. A lot of people have what I call a deer in the headlights reaction to trying to speak Nuu-chah-nulth. They are so used to the feeling of not being able to say what they want to say that they assume that's going to happen and they can't speak. They might even be able to speak in private while they're practicing, but then as soon as someone speaks to them in Nuu-chah-nulth, they freeze. And a lot of people have that reaction. Probably some of you have that reaction. And the only way that I know to get past that is to keep putting yourself in that situation until so to make that reaction get smaller and smaller and smaller. And it'll always be there, but eventually, if you confront it enough times, it'll get small enough that you can ignore it. That's the only way I know of to deal with the deer in the headlights feeling. But then there's also the fact that even if you don't feel nervous and you don't have the deer in the headlights reaction, we don't know enough words to say what we want to say, most of us in Nuu-chah-nulth. So there's a really great level that you can reach in a second language. It's long before you're fluent, but the level that I have in mind is the level where even though you don't know how to say lots of things, you can speak only that language. You can stay in that language, and you can say things like haya'aka wa ati'ah date wa mahsa anis hinachitlit ahiyat hit nitina at hayab shitsi Quishlai. I just came from that place where the Dichidots live. I've forgotten what it's called, but you can say all that in the language. And one thing that'll help you get to that point is memorizing the survival conversations. Survival conversations are specially chosen to help you in situations like that, where you don't know what to say and you're reaching for something. And if you memorize those, they'll give you something to say. I'm talking about this to give you some strategies for dealing with whatever difficulties you're dealing with. Did you have your hand up, Kitty?
I did. When we were talking about numbers, is there a word for numbers or a word for like math in your channel?
Oh yeah, you asked me about that and I haven't responded
Yeah,
yet.
no, that's okay.
Well, there's a word for counting, which is huksa. Huksa, what does in, we're going to count. And if I want to talk about math or arithmetic, I say huksa. But keep in mind that's an action word, not a noun, right? And for number, I use the word huksyak. Huksyak, I got that word from Ann Cox, who is a Heshkwit speaker. And she married into Cayuga. And as far as I know, she made that word up. Huksyak.
So at school, we could use that if we wanted to refer to math or to numbers.
Yeah, so I would use huksa for math and huksyak for number. Huksyak literally means for counting. And that's a pattern that is common in Nuu-chah-nulth. A lot of things that we use in Nuu-chah-nulth are named for what we use them for. Pitsyak is for writing. Pitsahyak is for writing on. Pitsatzim, desk, is also for writing. Tekwasyak is one word for a chair, for sitting on. Tekwasyak. Napyak, a cup or a bottle for drinking. So that's a native Nuu-chah-nulth pattern. But so far, not a lot of people are using the word huksyak.
So we are going to start counting. How did you say that again?
Huksa witasin. Huksa witasin. And you'll find that that's the first conversation in the numbers unit. Huksa witasin hukschiakli. We're going to count. Start counting. So walk atlatlatsamu sucha.
It sounds really similar to what you're going to eat now, isn't it?
Yep. Ha'uk witasin. Huksa witasin. Yeah. Huksa and ha'uk will start with H. And both of K. And a short U.
No, we didn't.
So,
Yeah. Witasin.
so it has a little thing on top, the W?
Yeah. I'll write that out.
Hard
Hard
W, hard T. That hard, yeah. Forget the word. Just two here?
Yep, hard T.
Okay.
Witas means going to do. Witasin, we're going to eat. Huksa witasin, we're going to count.
Ooh, that's good.
When I saw Chester, when I walked in, he asked me, Akti matzuk witasin. What are we going to talk about?
Ooh, I like that.
Akti matzuk witasin.
You could also just go with what we are going to talk about.
Akti, what? Matzuk, talk about. Witasin. Going to we question.
Adam, I say in my class ho'okshi'in. Is that okay to use to say like
Yep, let's
lunch
start
we're
eating.
gonna eat?
Okshi'in.
Oh, shit.
Yes, Chester?
I was wondering what the lady was asking about numbers,
Mm-hmm.
counting
Mm-hmm.
is, huksa is counting over and over. Yeah. It's like when you're
Almost like mom.
learning how to count huksa.
Oh, okay.
Say, if I ask you to count, I'll say hooks jakey. Start counting.
Oh, okay.
So like that.
Okay, so you might, so if we're teaching children to count
Yeah.
and they're practicing it over and over again, huksa would be a good way to describe that.
It's like the other one.
Yeah, so you can tell your
Practicing.
students huksa with this, we're gonna count over and over. Again.
Practicing counting kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like repeating it.
Like we squeeze,
Hooks,
squeeze,
chi.
squeeze. A two. No,
Hooks, chi.
So when there's
Would
that,
be she or chi?
She, it would be she.
Even though it's hooks chip?
Yes,
hooks,
pretty sure. The way our colleague Matt Davidson would describe it is that hooks should start counting repetitively is part of the repetitive system. So it's derived from the repetitive form, not from the complete form. That's how I understand it too. But since this is a verb, you couldn't talk about it as a thing. You couldn't say, for example, top of huk hooks hooksa. Well, you could, but I think that sounds a little clumsy in the channel. Or we're going to talk about math. Umatsuk witasin hooks hooksa. I think sounds funny or a little clumsy. It'd be better to say things like umatsuk witasin kwaaktin hooks hooksa. We're going to talk about how we're going to count. And the reason we have to put it that way is because in the channel, huksa and huksa are verbs, not nouns.
Could you put just, I guess, just because I want to be able to start the beginning of what we are going to talk about, whether it's going to be numbers or if we're going to talk about stories, you know, the beginning of that, so I could,
Umatsuk.
okay, and then I can add
Umatsuk witasin.
chuk,
Who is an empty root? Matsuk, talk about. Witasin, going to we. We're going to talk about whatever. So this tends to happen. We go off on tangents. We talk about
Sorry.
whatever you're interested in. But no, but that's okay. That's what I like to do. I like people to say what they're struggling with and what they want to learn right now, and then we'll focus on that. I told you that we're going to practice introducing ourselves and then talk about action words and simple sentences. But I changed my mind about the second part. I decided that since there was a lot of interest in family expressed last week, we should continue talking about family. So I suggest that we practice introducing ourselves, and then it might be time for the break. And when we're done with that, we will get more into family, talk about Nuchano family. Chooch?
so it's the one you emailed us, right? That's the conversation we're having.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're going to continue what we were working on last week. Last week we practiced introducing ourselves in a short version of the Nuchano way of introductions. So I'll introduce myself, then I'll ask Chester to introduce himself since he's our elder present, and then we'll start going around the table. Wa mahsamah siwa ya please Adam uklama uklasita please up. I want to tell you all who I am. Wa mahsamah siwa ya please Adam uklama. My name is Adam. Uklasita please up, and I'm also called please up. Ahokwa Iaksu Elspeth no Iaksu Kent. Histakshitsi Siat Postinatasi. Juge. Jamulhak wa Niwa Yakik Yaklayik. was Histakshitli.
وكلاسيش وميس قوتي أمتي وكلاسة تشستر مامة نقشت يستقشت حوصت يستكوست قسمات هي يتحصل معاصلة أو
You live here now. Is that what you said? Yeah.
Oshakshitla it's Umis. Enatinis Jamulhak Wani wa Yaqib.
Uha Kenatinius, Uklama, Brittany Johnson, Huayaksuma, Ojibwayaksuma, Uhukwa Umiaksu, Darlene Lino, Uhukwa Nuiaksu, Nuiaksu, Larry Johnson, Uhukwata Nananiaksu, Gordon-ish Virginia Cook, Kenneth-ish Joan Johnson, Histakshia Kla Chichasius. True.
Oshakshitla it's. True. So what? Jamulhak Wani wa Yaqib.
Uklamach, Giles, a Chaklahak, Tsumas at Hishtaks, Uhakwa Umiksu Pat, Umhakwa Nuiksu John.
Oh, Oshakshitla it's John's. So what? Jamulhak
Uklama Moira, Barney. Uklus Aksuma. Uhukwa Umiksu, Marie O'Day, Mamasli Aksuma. Uhakwa Nuiksu, Leroy Barney. Nuwatsa, that Nuwatsa, Nuwatsa, Uhakwa in ma, Roy ish, Mary Barney.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nanixu.
it's Mara.
Oh, Nanixu. Yeah, sorry. Nanixu. I just said their names, but Nanixu.
True. And next up it's grandparents. True. So what?
Okay, now that I've practiced, I'm in the deer in the headlights. Utlama Allison Young, King George Aksu, Tuma, Hisakshakla Tumaas, Uhukwa Iksu Judith Young, Uhukwita Nupiksu Jeremy Young, Uhukwa Chaka Corey Anderson, Uhukwa Quicksu Annabelle Anderson. Check.
Who's such a place? Oh. So what?
Uklama Heather, Histakshikla Sayat. And I want to work on how to say Utah, but Utah in Indigenous. Anyway,
okay.
Because that's where I feel like I'm from. Anyway, that was so hard. Okay, Histakshikla Sayat. Umixaka Melody, Nutwixaka Dwayne, Postinata.
Oh. Go ahead. So what? Jamal, if we can hear what you think.
Uklama David. Aninox si anti mamaknapa. Histokshik si Texas. Hiat Ahad si hiat siar. Uklak si Exu Marsha. Ahad si Uklak Nuexu Richard. Truch.
Oh.
Yeah.
Angie, another Datush. Uklama, Kuyai, Yorkshire. Istatrika, Pukachasat. Ukit Umirsu, Elizabeth Petush. Uquita, Nungleaksu, Earl Tetush. Uquita, Naniaksu. Ella Robinson, Ish Wilfred Robinson, Ish William Tatush, Ish Dora Kishkish Tatush.
Oh.
Uklama, Katie Anderson, Histokshikla, Tumaas, Uhokwa, Omiexu, Sharon Anderson, Ohokwa, Nuiexu, Brent Anderson, Kanata Aksu.
Oh.
Uklama Caitlin, Histakshaklash Sumaas, Ohokwa Iaksu Shelley Matthews, Ohokwa Nuiaksu Len Matthews, Ohokwa Chakopi Duncan Aylard, Kanata at Ha.
Oh.
Oh, this is a real stroke, so bear with me. Akama Ham, Ustakazla Port Alberni, Huakwata Unisku Belma, Huakwata Nuisku James.
Oh.
Uklama Zach, Histakshik Texas, Histakshik Zumas, Huakwata Umyexu Judy, Huakwata Umyexu Stafford.
Oh. True. I'd say hit Maxte on this na sewa kokoata. It's very good to hear you all speaking Chong. I feel that that's something important that most of us want to be able to do whenever called upon, and that most of us could use some practice doing that. So why don't we continue practicing our introductions at the beginning of every class until everyone feels 100% comfortable with their self-intro. Yes, Caitlin?
Is there a way to say what your maiden name is, like before you were married?
I just added it.
You just say you're from that family,
Or
right?
do you just say
Yeah, that's one way.
both? Like I guess.
Yeah, you could say something like, for example, my mother's maiden name is Franklin. She could say Histakshit, like Moira said, she could say Histakshitla. Franklin, Oktakemt. Oktakemt is a way that some people say clan.
Okay.
Or she could say Franklin Takemt. Histakshitla. I come from Franklin. Min. Min is a plural ending. I come from the Franklin. Histakshitla Franklin Min. Histakshitla Franklin Tuckman. I come from the Franklin clan. You could say, you could convey that information by giving your father's full name, like Moira did. Ahokwa Nu'ueksu. Roy Varney, did you say? Leroy Varney. Ahokwa Nu'ueksu Leroy Varney, and that would convey that same information.
Okay.
Taya. Is that like from the family? Taya? I had that written down somewhere. Taya?
That doesn't sound familiar.
No.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
So if I want to do Histakshikla Achaswinis, and then Histakshikla Nona, and then I would say Hupachas Aksub, so I don't keep saying Histakshikla, and then I could say that Histakshikla Tatush Min. Okay.
Something that, go ahead, Chester.
What was the lady's question again?
Caitlin was asking, how could she give her maiden name in the child?
Give her maiden name.
Like before I was married, I was a Matthews, and now I'm an Alar. Was my name changed when I got married?
Oh,
I didn't know if there was a way to say.
see, I would say, well, in English, my mother's name was Charlie. She got married. She became John. See, Ukla gets Wixo, John. It's Nupshit. Ujay took empty. And your married name.
It's Nupshit.
Istaksheduk empty Nuksaki.
It's big, that's not.
My father's.
I'll work on that.
Just write it all
Thank
down,
you.
Yeah.
MTs. What does MT mean? Yes, I thought. Yeah.
Okla Kitsat Nukweksa John Ahad Umiksa Charlie. Okla Kitsa Umiksa Charlie Ahad Hits Nupshit Histakshit Look Empty Nukweksa.
Nukweksa, my father.
Well, we're talking about your father. Okla Kitsat Nukweksa John.
Oh, yeah.
Ahad Hits Nupshit. Then you got married. Histakshit Look Empty Nukweksa. And his name came from his father. So that's another way to do it, Caitlin.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask for, I'm trying to work on how to say I was from Texas or Alberta, but now I'm in Port Alberta. I didn't catch how, because I heard someone say, he said something like that, and now here, what's the right way to say I was from? Some kind of gypsy lived everywhere, which say, well, my home was in Texas, but now I live here.
Well, you can, one way is to use the words Histakshit versus Hiyat. Histakshit means come from, but Hiyat means live at.
Okay.
So and you could say Hiyat at see. Now I live at Sumas. And if you want to talk about where you grew up, the word for growing up is Hoichit. So Huyuks, Huyukwas, Hoichit. When I was growing up, I was in Texas. Huyukwas, when I Hoichit was growing up.
So I can say Texas, actually Sumas.
I am from Texas. Now I live in Port Alberta. Texas. Yeah, so there are many ways to say these things. And I advise you to write it out. Write it out, see how it looks, try it that way, but don't just memorize it. Teach yourself to make different sentences, and then every time you introduce yourself, you can say it a little bit differently.
Man that's asking, how do you say when we moved from here to there? It's Sheetuk.
Sheetuk.
When you move.
So he could say his Texas, Sheetuk, what's
Okay.
So Sheetuk is to move to a new place.
Thank you.
Good.
That's another word you can use, Zach. I have some suggestions for you on pronunciation as well. Some of you are still struggling to pronounce Nuu-chah-nulth words. If you're in that stage, struggling to pronounce Nuu-chah-nulth words, then I suggest breaking words into syllables. Breaking words into syllables will take you a long way towards being able to pronounce them right. A lot of you are pretty good at pronouncing Nuu-chah-nulth syllables, but your English accent is coming through in several ways. And two of the strongest ways that your English accent is coming through is, one, several of you are continuing to drop back H's at the ends of syllables. That's how English speakers tend to talk when they speak Nuu-chah-nulth. And if you want to have a better accent in Nuu-chah-nulth, you need to force yourself to pronounce the back H's in words like Oklama, Oklama. Your English brain is going to push you to drop that H because it feels like you shouldn't have to work that hard to make a consonant at the end of a syllable. But in Nuu-chah-nulth, you do have to work that hard to make a consonant at the end of a syllable. Also, many of you are using an English list intonation. When we list things in English, we tend to go up at the end of every list item, like the first thing and then the second thing. My mother was this and my father was that. That's a very English intonation, and we don't speak. Nuu-chah-nulth speakers don't use that kind of intonation. Nuu-chah-nulth does have lots of interesting intonation. Generally speaking, it's flatter than English, although Nuu-chah-nulth intonation can get quite animated, especially when people are telling stories or talking about something exciting that happened. But they don't go da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. They don't do up top. That's an English thing. So if you want to get better at that,
record yourself.
It's hard to work on your intonation when you're struggling to pronounce vowels and consonants. If you're still struggling to pronounce vowels, consonants, and syllables, then you shouldn't worry about your intonation. But once you have the vowels and consonants down and you're pronouncing your back H's, then you can improve your intonation. And you can practice speaking with gradually falling intonation. That is how Nuu-chah-nulth speakers generally make statements. Istak shitlah siyah. Oklama Adam. Okla sitla plesa. You see, my intonation starts in the mid-range and then gradually falls. And that's a standard Nuu-chah-nulth intonation.
Should I be able to see that on that app I showed you that has when I'm recording it, it has the.
That'll show you how loud you're being, but
Okay.
not where the pitch of your voice is.
Okay. That's what I needed to know.
Can I have one quick question?
Language.
Yeah.
Caitlin said that her husband said chukup-e, and I said chukup. I wasn't sure which is what. Are both right? Or?
If it's in the sentence, Ohokwa Chakup Corey.
Yeah.
My husband is Corey.
Okay.
You should just say Chakup.
Okay. And
you can't use either.
What does E mean again?
E means the.
The. Oh, okay.
The husband is.
Okay.
The
husband.
Yeah, that's where you say.
Yeah. Ohokwa Chakup Corey.
Okay.
My husband is Corey. You can't use E here because Chakup, in this sentence, Chakup is acting as a predicate, not as a participant. E is for participants. Participants take E. The bird, the eagle saw the dog.
What's the actor?
The eagle and the dog are actors. They're participants.
It's the actor.
But he's saying he's a man. He's a husband. Then man, husband is a predicate. It's not a participant. So it can't take E. Well, good. That was a lively discussion. We will talk more about family. Umatak with us in Ma'ayis. Yep. Oklei Ma'ayis. Umatak with us ni. Hawiyat kon Huksatu. Huksatu Aklan. Huksatu Johnny. We'll take a short break.
I know that one.
The handout, if you don't already have it, is right up there. Brittany has printed it out for us.
Over the names? I got it on.
Yeah.
You're saying, how do you say you're with Corey?
That's a part of it.
Yeah.
You're married to Corey?
Uhukwa.
Oh, that's your husband.
My husband's name.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was mistaken. I was gonna say, if you're married, you say "Ukayulsish."
Okay.
Ukayulsish Corey. You're living with Corey.
But you're saying it with the Hausa dialect?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's saying with the Hausa dialect. So how would you say it with Market, you know?
It's about the same. Ukayul is living with like a married couple.
You know who she's married to Corey Anderson, who is the grandson to Louisa Watts. Lady Louisa Watts. So that's who her husband is. Grandfather.
So yeah, and that's the thing is, for me, it's nice to be able to say my parents' name, but nobody knows my parents, and the reason I speak to challenge is to speak with other elders. So if I say, oh, my dad's name is, but that's why I wanted to add in there the Corey Anderson and Anna Anderson, and I don't even know how to say yeah.
I don't think I would have read it.
But I don't know how to say my husband's mother or my husband's grandmother is Heta. Because if I was talking to somebody like you, you'd want to know who I am. I'd like to say that my husband's grandmother is Heta. Because that's a lot of elders know who she is.
You know, when you write it down on your book, don't be shy to read it from there. You'll learn from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you see the words on that board, you write it down right away. It doesn't matter if you use your memorized words. Use it, put it together with what you know. It really helps. If you memorize it before you come here, 5-10 minutes before you go, you'll be saying, oh,
I've already used
that
this word last
use that word.
Yeah.
And that's the closest I can get. But I've added to probably get closer if I say it.
Not with this at the end. Yeah. I think it's actually an X on the front too. Because it's not it's
In answer to your question, we don't have words for most fields of study.
But I was asking Lena about the 2 X's, and there's one that's here and one that's here.
And then we need to try to get but John Rampton
like my dad said. What does James say?
To run, something like that.
Mommy should know how to spell it.
Playing, but it also so those would be I think those would be natural words to use for people. The supplement for the outdoors and supplements to the
I would invite you. Some families
And then for math.
Pisat is the root for running around or playing. Pisatuk is the standard word. That's right. Pisat but it's not just playing anything. It is used for playing anything, but it also has this connotation of running around. And then Pisat means running around indoors. Pisat means running around outdoors.
Which I wanted on our calendar. And then last one from Lena.
There's a few words people use for world. So some people use Nas for world, as well as day and creator. Julia Lucas says Mana.
Oh, is it?
Have you heard of the Mana tribes? 5 Nusantara tribes that constituted treaties in Canada. They call themselves Mana. Mana literally means living alone.
So,
Wait, just say that.
do I try to like?
No, there's no ology. If there were a suffix in an ology, you'd do that again. There isn't. But the word science is not a word for knowing. So we could translate science as darkness is knowing in our tongues. We could do that. If we got enough people to agree with that, then that would be just.
And how would I rate that one?
Duck is to know. And then miss makes abstract nouns.
I mean, I just don't on it, so maybe you're not really.
Hamut and hamut are also roots for knowing.
But like.
So someone might prefer one of those instead of duck.
Well, I agree, but I think that like, I mean, it does seem like messed up.
Where are you relative to?
Optimist means knowledge, knowing. Could be. Yeah,
Just after us.
But I'm glad you're interested in that. Let's keep talking about it.
Yeah. I will use it and then we've done a little bit.
But we're quite a distance from the road. They're used like our driveway.
For my intro, is it supposed to be Aksuma or Aksu? Because I had it conflicting. I had Aksu for when I talked to Auntie, but is it supposed to be Ma?
People say both. It depends on the speaker.
Oh, okay. So if Auntie said Aksu, and then I just have to do the right?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, some people will say Yufuit Aksupa, and some say Yufuit Aksuma.
But it's
And then I had what does this means?
I'll give these now.
So this is just where I live now.
I'm just
Okay. And then I should have done it or who put it or it here. It's not there.
Okay.
And then it just should have been Nenixu and then there's no plural for Nenixu, just say both.
His brother.
No, there is a
His brother was
plural.
out
None.
Shawinigan, and he's not
Oh,
really.
none.
I've actually, Doug and I have been together.
I think I had that written down somewhere and I thought I was doing it
I'm
wrong.
sure.
I've met his brother maybe like four.
How does that happen?
Okay.
Not really.
Okay.
Family guys.
Thanks.
As far as I'm concerned.
You're a user of note cards.
Love that.
Okay. I would love to see that.
Well, it's not really, well, it is business. We have cows and sheep. We don't really like advertise. We just, we don't have lots. We just kind of give to neighbors and friends and friends of friends. So like, yeah, we don't like advertise. His dad used to do it himself and then have it packaged and together. But now double R just.
I can't wait to see that. He's an eighth grade.
The animal's not alive.
But he's been gone all week because he's been sick.
Yeah, my when Duncan was growing up, it used to be Peach Farm, and that was their primary source of income. They didn't have other jobs, and then they used to sell to grocery stores, and then the big market crashed because they were buying out of Mexico, so it was really cheap, and so they lost a bunch of money and they had to get rid of their.
What grade do you teach, Katie?
So they had to get 2 alternative jobs. So my mother-in-law worked at the post office, and my father-in-law.
If I was to go back to classroom, I'm ELL right now, like, I'm literacy
Now
sports.
it's more of like.
I think I'd hit maybe grade 2. Grade 2, 3.
That's kind of that is my
They don't make lots of
kind
money.
of idyllic.
Mm.
So yeah, this is my little dream
Nice. I was middle school for years, so I taught grade 6 for years.
I
Yeah.
Even as a kid.
I'm so glad there's a girl there that do it. I did grade. Oh, I didn't teach grade 7. I taught similar.
I've never
seen
seen
part to it was 5, 6, 7. And they're great, but I found my element.
Yeah. How long have you been up there?
This is my 3rd year there. Where are you right now?
EJ.
Right. You're not really.
Favorite, I guess.
And you didn't get the handout?
Oops, sorry. Can you grab me one?
Yeah.
Giles, Ushak Shikleitz, he needs something. Thank you for bringing the food.
Yes.
Ushak Shikleitz, he needs something.
You're welcome.
Adam, is there a word for you're welcome?
No, there isn't.
No.
You just
Yeah.
said
People always ask that.
I don't-
Nope.
There's like 5 words for you're welcome.
What's that, David?
There's like 5 ways to say it. There's a lot of ways to say you're welcome that I know, right? There's ushak shikleitz.
No, that's thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Oh, sorry, just 2. Yeah.
If it's more than.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Y'all
Are these extra?
Oh, I just
You're
thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome means, you come in.
You can say that when you're walking in, if
Oh.
somebody's walking in the door. It's like, what you know, it's
What
like
you know.
welcome.
Omatzokwetnas Aklen Ma'ayish. Oklei Ma'ayish. We're going to talk about family. Ma'ayish does not exactly mean family. Family is one of the concepts where there's no, the English word family has no direct translation in Nuchonal because traditional Nuchonal family structures are different from traditional European family structures. Ma'ayish roughly means household. It's the people who live in the same house. It's based on the word ma'as. Ma'as is a word with broad meanings. It can mean house, village, tribe, home, place to live. So Matmas is the plural of Ma'as. That's the name of the big gym on Sasha territory because that's where the tribes gather, Matmas. So that's Ma'as in its meaning of tribe. It can also mean house. There's a more specific word for house though. If you want to be clear that you're talking about a physical structure where people live, then you can say Mahdi. Mahdi means that building where people live. Ma'as can mean house, but it means all these other things as well. When we add the ending ish, which means indoors, we get ma'ayish. That ending causes the S in ma'as to become a Y for reasons that we will not ask why for now. But we linguists call that softening. Some of us linguists call that softening.
That's an English word.
Our words for this unit consist mainly of kinship terms, names for different kinds of people that we're related to. And at the very end, there's 4 words to describe very common relationships that we have with people. Being related to, being friends with, being married to, or being with romantically. Let's pronounce these words. Naniqsu.
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 Nanexu.
Nananexu.
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 Omexu.
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 Nuexu.
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 Eichum.
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 Naexu.
Neexu.
Naexu.
Neexu.
Nanaexu.
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 Ma'mexu.
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 Yuquexu.
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 Tayi.
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 Uatsu.
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 Kashatik.
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 Huchmu.
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 Huchmu min. Kluchmukmin.
Kluchmukmin.
Hachim Seksu.
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 Tatna.
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 Kauts.
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 Kakuts.
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 Okyu.
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 Ookscha'in.
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 Okwink.
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 Otzhait.
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 Oh, my English brain wanted to say Uchi.
Yeah.
Where are you reading that?
I've never been sure whether I can say Ukwetsu about my younger sister or if I should say Fuchmu. I'm never sure if Matmetsu and Ukwetsu are reserved for same gender or not. And I've never been sure. Can you explain?
Yes, we're going to talk about that. My short answer is you can do what you want, and you'll get away with it. But there's more to say about that. Chester, do you have something to say?
Yeah, did you mention Kuyuksu?
No, I didn't. Kuyuksu.
That's daughter-in-law or something.
And
I have a daughter-in-law too.
Kuyuksu,
what about mother-in-law? Isn't that quick soup?
mother-in-law.
Yeah.
Is,
I think that's a reciprocal term. So,
yeah.
So your mother-in-law and you call each other Kuyuksu. You're each other's Kuyuksu.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not quick soup. It's quick. Yeah.
Kuyuksu.
Quick soup.
Oh, there
Okay.
it is.
Yeah. Upstick. Kuyuksu. Kuyuksu. You can see that a lot of terms for relatives end in iksu. That's and this is one of them. Kuyuksu. Kuyuksu is an in-law by marriage.
Yeah.
And it's used between the child-in-law and the parent-in-law. So Allison's husband's mother and she are each other's Kuyuksu.
Quick soup. Okay.
Yes,
Can you
Katie?
use that as brother or sister-in-law as well?
No, I think there's a different word for that, but I can't remember it.
Brother-in-law?
It's what's Uyuksu?
Uwiksu. Uwiksu. That's for a sibling-in-law, brother or sister-in-law. Okay. I have the late Carrie Little left a lot of papers on linguistic and cultural topics in the channel, and she had one of her papers is about all of the relationship words, family relationship words that she could think of, including these ones. And I would like to bring that and share it with you, but I'm getting permission from her grandson to do that. So when we get that permission, then we'll take a look at that.
David?
Alex.
Oh, Alex. Oh, Alex.
I believe Alex is responsible for her papers.
Okay.
Yes, Joe?
What about twin? I have a twin brother.
Well, you see, I carefully chose these words as the most important ones for you to learn first. So how about you learn these first, and then I'll give you all the other ones. There is a word for twin, but I can't remember it. Do you know it, Chester?
You know it?
There's a word for it, but a lot of people always use. It's just the same as brother and sister.
I don't know.
Whoever was born first is Equipsit.
Oh, but Moira knows because she's a twin. Are you the good one or the bad one? Oh, the good one. Okay.
So Unaka Kwayatsitma. And then Auntie just said, I say Memexuma. So I'm the older. So
say it again, so he wants to hear.
Unaka Kwayatsitma. Kwayatsitma. Yanni Barney and Mamixuma.
I am the elder. Mamixuma. Quiet Sitma. Does that ring a bell, Chester?
Mamixuma.
I only heard Numbek.
How does she say it?
Quiet Sitma. Quiet Sitma.
Look at Adam, he can say it.
I have a twin.
I
You wanna,
never heard it.
maybe she just need to read it for her to see, because she got the spelling right. But she need to be able to, I don't know if she can say it.
Where did you get that word from?
Quiet Sitma.
Koyesitma? Koyesitma?
Do you know where you got that word from?
No, I don't want to say it's antique because I can't remember.
And who spelled it?
Oh, I think the spelling. You know what? I think it's in here.
Okay, well, let's not look up dictionaries. So, sorry.
I think
it's
that's
just
what
that
this one.
I've had many classes derailed
Yes.
because everyone wants to
Yes.
look up everything in the dictionary and then we never get around to learning anything. But yes, we will investigate this and find out the best information that we can about twins.
She's got twins.
Okay. You can ask any questions you want about the information that's on your handout.
You're a good teacher.
Yeah, let's review our conversations. These are some conversations that I'm going to have you practice together. Let's run through all of them. A chakokak. A chakokak eichin. A chakokak eichin. Iksakah Lucy.
Iksakah Lucy.
Iksakah Lucy.
Iksakah Lucy.
No iksakitah Cecil.
No iksakitah Cecil.
No iksakitah Cecil.
No iksakitah Cecil.
These are giving you a couple things. One is another way to talk about your parents. Earlier we learned the two-word way. Lucy. Now we're learning the one-word way. Lucy. Also, we didn't learn in our introductions unit how to ask who are your parents, and this is how a chakokak, or one way to say ask, a chakokak eichin. Who are your parents?
That would be good for somebody young that's just starting, because they'll not know that we need to say, who are your parents? They'll just tell you who they are, and then they don't know that you're asking for a connection. They'll just stop at their name. Who are you? That's it.
All of these expressions, they all have the possessive ending in them. The possessive ending is pronounced uk or ak. So here it is, a chakokak, it's the uk in the chakokak. It's the ak in umiksaka, and it's the ak in nuiksakita. And it's the uk in ohokwa, omiaksu, Lucy. I'm telling you that so that you will start to recognize the possessive ending when you hear it. It's hard to explain. It's complicated to explain how possession works in Nuchanoth. Nuchanoth has complicated ways of expressing possession, and many of them are different from how English expresses possession. So we're starting with a few common examples. Once you have enough examples, once you've learned and memorized enough examples of ways of talking about possession in Nuchanoth, then in my experience, you'll be ready to hear an explanation of how the whole thing works. And then it'll start to make sense to you. But if I gave you a description right now of how possession works without enough examples, you wouldn't have enough data to latch onto to understand the explanation. That's what conversation 1 is giving you. Conversation 2 gives you an example of how you can ask someone how many of a certain family member they have. Hopmaki. Tatnes. How many children do you have? Hopmakik tatnes. Hopmakik tatnes. And you'll notice that even though we're asking a question to you, this hopmakik does not end in hak. Usually when we ask a question to you, it ends in hak, but here it's ending in ik. Also, we learned in our numbers unit that how many is anak, but now we're using hopma to mean how many. And the reason for this is that hopmakik is what we call an indirect question, as opposed to a direct question. Nuchanoth has an explicit difference between direct questions and indirect questions. And in this case, we're using an indirect question because the direct question, how many do you have is confusing sounding in Nuchanov. It doesn't work. If I said the direct question would be anak hak.neis. And the problem is that sounds almost exactly the same as do you have children, which would be unak hak.neis. So because that's confusing, we're alternating to the indirect question. And there's a lot more to say about indirect questions as well, but we won't go more into it than that for now. Here are some ways you can answer that question. Sawanaka. Tatneis.
Tatneis.
I have one child. Sawanaka tatneis.
Sawanaka tatneis.
Sawanaka tatneis. Where's the number one in that sentence? Sawa. Right. The ending nuk means to have. It's a very useful ending. It's very frequently used in Nuchanov. And in this lesson, we're going to learn how to add nuk to numbers. Ayanaka. I have a lot. Ayanaka. Wikitukwa. I have none. Wikitukwa. No, because ani doesn't mean really in the sense of very. It means really in the sense of truly, sure is. Yes, David?
Is it okay to say wiknak?
No, it makes literal sense, but no one says that.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard it. I was just wondering if there's reason.
Yeah. No, it's the same reason we don't say I go to the store in English. It makes sense, but adults don't say that. I'm sorry?
Is wiknak in general not exist?
No, yeah, it's not used. I don't think I've ever heard it. And conversation 3 shows you some ways that you can say what your connection is to different people. Achakhat.
Achakhaya.
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 Who's that? Achakhaya.
Achakhaya.
Okyumahya. I'm related to that person. Okyumahya.
Okyumahya.
Ukscha'inmahya.
Ukscha'inmahya.
That's my friend. Ukscha'inmahya.
Can we slow that one down?
Yeah.
There's a lot of letters in that one. Oops. Cha.
He or she is my friend.
Is ya? Is that one of the here there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's exactly it. Yeah, they're what I call pointers.
Okay.
And how far away is something that we call
my
ya?
friend. Yeah. So that's the word that in that sentence?
That's right.
Right.
Ya means that.
Okay.
But Nuchanov has more that's than English does. English just distinguishes this and that. When Nuchanov says more that's. So how far away is ya?
It's closer than ye.
Could you say?
That's right. Closer than ye.
So that could you
Yeah.
you could replace ya
Yeah,
with
you would.
ye?
Yes, it would be appropriate for
That's
David
Nanaimo.
to refer to Giles as ya.
In Nuchanov?
So you could replace ya with ye if,
No.
with that sentence if it was further away.
Yes, if Giles were across the street, then Caitlin might say, "Oops, ye." That guy over there is my friend.
Okay.
I wrote it in there for you.
Like how these connections are.
How would you?
Oquinka. Oquinka, yeah. I'm with that person. Oquinka, yeah. And oquink is ambiguous in the same way as the English word with. It can mean that you're physically in that person's presence, and it can mean you're romantically involved with them. So it's a euphemism, just like the English euphemism to be with someone. Utzhema. I'm married to him or her. Utzhema, yeah. I'm married to that person. So I suggest that we start with conversation 3. You're going to practice with your partner pointing to different people in the room and discussing how you are connected to those people. And you should pretend, because most of us aren't related to each other. We're friends and we're not married. So you're gonna have to pretend in order to use these different expressions. So pretend, oh, I'm with him, I'm married to her. That's my friend. That's my relative.
Who will I be married to? People all marry Adam.
Okay, so I suggest that Zach and Pam work together, and Katie and Angie, Caitlin and Heather, Allison and Moira, Giles and Brittany. And David and I will assist.
You're his lovely assistant.
I'm sorry, I lost my teeth yesterday, and I'm
Oh yeah, you were saying.
it's aching and aching. Okay. So
Okay.
oh, reading. So my favorite.
Yeah, a chocolate. Yeah.
Okay.
Or a chocolate.
If you master
Yeah.
conversation 3, then you can go on to conversation 2. But for now,
are you
please
parents?
focus on conversation 3.
Okay.
Oh, we're focusing on 3? Okay.
A chocolate. A chocolate. Yeah.
Katie, or is it,
I got you. Okay, go ahead.
no, I'd say her name is. You could. So maybe. No.
No, you're saying.
I'm married to her.
I have.
Uklama without the H. Uklama Katie.
I also wasn't sure what to say.
Oh, and then oh, I'm supposed to say these things.
Both.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Katie. Or all right, I don't know.
That's my
It's
friend.
okay. I wonder where you'd put her in. David, if you wanted to say that's my friend Katie, where do you put her name in there? Like after the.
Yeah, I would just make it just, and it says Ukyuma. Oh, you want to say friend? Ukram, Katie.
Oh, okay.
Uklama Katie.
Yeah, or you can just say Ukra.
Okay.
Once we've already established the
The
mood,
mood, you would
we can just say Ukra.
Okay.
Once mood is established.
Okay.
So we could just say
Ukra.
Ukla, and then.
Yep, name. That's my friend. Name is Katie.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. And then okay, do you want to ask me a few more?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yeah. Or yeah.
Okay. I hate reading this stuff. It's hard to read.
David?
Yeah.
It just helps to hear them.
Yeah, can you?
I often mix up the U vowels, so.
Can you read 3 B's for us?
Yuma.
Can, so what's the syllables? Oh, with the H in there? Is that the first?
Yeah. And then you.
Oh, you do need an H. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the syllables are Yuma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You.
So always find the vowel, and the first consonant in front of the vowel is the start of the syllable.
You ma. Yeah. You ma.
And then.
Yeah.
Hey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uch, no, uts, that's it. UTS, uts, hima, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
So it's probably, pushing that one in the
Oh, I'm supposed to answer. Oh yeah, that's my friend. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So yeah. Utla. Heather. Utla.
Achakaya. Yeah.
Sorry, I answered and my father is next.
Repetition. It feels so like really hard to pull out of your mouth, eh?
So forced, but I'm like repetition.
So then,
There you go. I'm just trying to get the pronunciation. No. It's not. Oh, the pharyngeal. One more time. The pharyngeal.
3B.
So,
Yeah, you're close to it. Yeah, you're doing it right. You're just doing it too strong.
Okay. I'm overcompensating. Okay.
Yeah, you got
the almost go like nasally. It helps if you think nasally, like and I'm overdoing it. I know. I'm trying to make sure I pronounce it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's just practice. Who's that? That's my friend. Who's that? That's my friend. Who's that? That's my friend. Okay. Achakaya.
Let's say
yeah.
No. I'm sorry. Achakaya.
I know that some of you haven't had enough practice on this, but you get the idea now, so you can practice on your own time. So now we're going to move on and talk about something else to make use of our precious time together. I'd like to address David's question, which is a very important question in Nuu-chah-nulth culture, which is what do we call our siblings of the same gender versus our siblings of the opposite gender? Nuu-chah-nulth has a highly developed vocabulary for ranking siblings. So we have, there are words for brother and sister. Suchmu, hachim sekso, our sister and brother.
I think that's one of my favorite words so far. Suchmu.
That sounds cool. You might notice that
Doesn't sound complimentary. My Suchmu.
Suchmu, meaning sister, has the same root as Sutsma. They both refer to women. But we also have words for older sibling and younger sibling, Ma'meksu, Yukweksu. And we have special words for ranking brothers, Tayi, Uatsu, Kasatik. So in the traditional system, you are ranked with respect to your siblings of the same gender. So the brothers are ranked with respect to each other, and sisters are ranked with respect to each other, but sisters and brothers are not ranked because they're raised differently. You know, girls are raised to do certain jobs and boys are raised to do certain jobs. But the ranking within the boys and within the girls is important. If you're a girl, you will refer to your older sisters as Ma'meksu and your younger sisters as Yukweksu, but your brothers are all Hachim Seksu to you, regardless of their age. And it's reversed for boys. If you're a boy, then your brothers will be either Ma'meksu or Yukweksu, depending on whether they're older or younger than you, but your sisters are all Suchmu. Yes, Chester?
Tai can mean two, like if there's 3 chiefs in the reserve, Tai is head of that chief.
Mm-hmm. The number one
can
chief.
Mean that too, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we also have some female chiefs.
That's Hakum.
And some female chiefs happen to be the number one chief of their village or their tribe. For example, Ann Mac, who's the Tai Hawit of Tukwat. So Tayi is not exclusively a male word. It's a general ranking word. We can refer to lots of things as Tayi if they're the oldest or the senior or the number one, the top ranking in some system.
Or a fish.
Or a fish.
Or a fish. A big fish.
So what would the baby be of the family if you have senior? Like my dad's the baby boy.
Yeah, we could call him Yakuk, which is baby.
Yeah.
Even if he's not a baby?
Oh, he's still a baby.
But he's always in the family. He's referred to
Baby.
as the baby
Yeah.
because he's the baby of all the brothers.
He's also
no name. Got no Rick or Bob or.
Okay.
It's just a
It's
baby.
just a baby.
But
Newborn.
There's a special word for a younger brother, which is Kasatik. So with respect to his older brothers, he's Kasatik, as well as Yukweksu. But that's the traditional system, what I just described, where the girls are ranked with respect to each other and the boys are ranked with respect to each other, but they're not ranked, interranked. But these days, not everyone uses the traditional system. So these days, it's not uncommon for an older brother to call his younger sister Yukweksu. So that's something you can do, David. I also have younger sisters. I might call them Yukweksu. If I want to make it clear that my sisters are younger than me, then I need to use the term Yukweksu. I have 3 younger sisters. Generally, though, if it's not important, if their age is not important, I would just call them sisters. But if I have to talk about their age, then I can use the word Yukweksu. So people differ in how much they cling to the old traditional system. And even people who are using the traditional system can use the terms Ma'meksu and Yukweksu to refer to siblings of the opposite gender when it's necessary for clarity. Yes, Caitlin?
I'm just wondering if there's like a general word for siblings. Like I wouldn't ask my kids how many children you have. I'd ask them, or my students, sorry, how many siblings do you have?
No.
I can't just say that.
I don't
Maybe
think
how
so.
many girl siblings, how many boy siblings
Yeah,
do you
no,
have?
I don't know a generic word for sibling, just like there's no generic word for parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, we use the word Eichim for parents, but it doesn't only mean parents, it means elders, it means old people. Everyone older than you is your Eichim, not only your parents. So if you want to be specific in Nuchanov, you have to say achakok hak iksu no iksu. Who is your mother and your father?
And then to ask my students about their siblings.
Then you'd have to say achakok hak ahachum seksu hlutmukmin. Who are your brothers and sisters?
Oh, okay.
Or Dadnes.
Dadnes.
Yeah,
Who are your children?
that's Dadnes.
That's not what you're asking.
Children. Dadnes.
Who are the children? So you translate to?
He's asking about younger
Who are,
brothers.
who are the younger
Sibling. No, she's saying who are your siblings?
I think
Chester, could you say something like achakha ashtatnesi? Who are the children?
Yeah.
Achakha ashtatnesi? As a way of asking who are the brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, your Gukso or Mom Mixo, brothers and sisters.
I've got a question for you, Chester. My sister has been my sister my whole life, but she's actually my first cousin, but I call her my sister. Do we Nuchanov people? Because if she was raised with my family, so do I call her my sister? I guess I would because because of the relationship between my dad and my auntie, we're still brothers and sisters, right?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, I answered my.
Well, you can use the title of what Adam is talking about, family. What's that word again?
Ma'ayit.
Ma'ay. You can say we're Ma'ay, we're family.
Okay.
Although Nuchanov has very specific terms for rank within brothers and within sisters, within chiefs, there are other distinctions that European languages make that Nuchanov doesn't make. So Nuchanov, for example, does not make any distinction between closely related nuclear families.
We're not cousins, we're sisters. Because I know my cousin.
Nuchanov doesn't. Yeah, European languages talk about a nuclear family, which is just a woman and a man and their children. But because Nuchanov people traditionally lived in big houses with several families, all the people in a generation typically have the same name. So there's no distinction between siblings and cousins. They're all just Hachim Sekso, brothers and sisters.
Yeah, my cousins all call me their sister. When my first, the Robinson
Right, yeah,
girls.
so that's the Nuchanov way
Yeah.
of talking. Everyone in your generation is either a brother or a sister. Also, similarly, Nana Nexu, your grandparents aren't only the parents of your parents, they're everyone in your grandparents' generation that you're related to.
Yep,
Those are all your Nana Nexu. And same with Nana Iksu, uncles and aunties. Everyone in your parents' generation who isn't your direct parent is an uncle or an auntie.
That's the truth.
Does anyone know other cultures like that?
Indian are like that too.
East Indian.
Yeah.
Right. I was gonna say I know lots of Sikhs, and they're always referring to their
As
elders
their
as
aunties.
uncles and aunts.
Yeah.
There are specific names for the oldest brother or the senior person in a ranking, and the second oldest, and a younger brother who's not near the top, because the oldest brother would have specific jobs and responsibilities in the family. The second oldest would have specific jobs and responsibilities. So since those are significant positions, they get names. Tai is the senior, the oldest. Uetsu is the second oldest. Athatik are all the boys who didn't make it into the top two slots. And those also happen to be the names for these two fingers. The biggest finger is the Tai, and the ring finger is the Uetsu. So this is your senior brother, and this is your second oldest brother. Tai, Uetsu. So now you know enough to give us a little more detail about your siblings. So talk about your rank. Think about your rank within your siblings. Are you the Tai? Are you Ma Mitsu? Moira describes herself as Ma Mitsu because she has a sister who's slightly younger than her. So she's the Ma Mitsu. Her sister is the Yukwitsu. I have 3 younger sisters, but no brothers. So I have no Ma Mitsu or Yukwitsu in the traditional sense. But if I want to talk about my sisters in the same ranking as myself, then I can call them all my Yukwitsu, my younger siblings, or my Thuchmukmin. If I want, I can call myself Tai. Heather and I like to call ourselves Tai because we both happen to be the oldest. I'm the oldest of 4 and Heather's the oldest of 5.
I guess there's no word for middle child. I'm the middle child.
Sometimes uatsu gets translated as middle child. So
Oh.
if there's three of you, you are the uatsu.
Oh, okay. Well,
The
I'm not.
second, yeah.
Oh, it doesn't matter if it's brother or sister.
Well, like I said, that's kind of up to you.
Oh, okay.
Like, do you want to treat you can decide for yourself whether you want to describe your family in strictly traditional terms or in whatever terms are important to your family.
So could you just say uatsu would just be the same gender? So if it's like the second, you know what I mean? Does it have to be brother? It's just second sibling?
No, it doesn't have to be brother. It could be a girl, but it does sort of imply that there's something special about that. You know, like there's a reason why it's important that they're the second oldest. You know, they don't do the same job as the oldest, or they have a specific responsibility. And I want to add that although I talk about the traditional way of doing things, there's a lot of allowance in Nuu-chah-nulth culture for how specific families do things. In fact, that's very valued. So it's not the case that everyone is expected to follow the same customs. Rather, everyone is expected to get their instructions from whoever the senior person in their own family is, and that determines how they do it. So in that way of thinking, whatever is considered right in your family is not anyone else's business. And you can describe your family in whatever way makes sense to your family. And if you have a hierarchical structure in your family and you want to talk about a Nuu-chah-nulth, these are some terms you can use to do that. So I'd like to suggest that everyone come up with a short description of yourself and your siblings, and talk about them in hierarchical terms or in relational terms. Are you the older one? Are you the younger one? Do you have brothers? Do you have sisters? Are you the Tyee? Who is the Tyee?
What about deceased? What about deceased? Where does that fit in there?
You just need an it. So in the standard expression we learn for expressing someone's relation to you is ohokwa.
You just answered my question.
Can they talk about their own children, Adam?
Yes, of course.
Instead of their brothers and sisters?
Yes, of course. Ohokwa, for example, ohokwa yukweksu Jane. My younger sibling is Jane. Ohokwa yukweksu Jane. If Jane were deceased, then I would just need an it. Ohokwita yukweksu Jane.
Okay. And then so it's either for male or female.
That's up to you, like I said.
Well, where would I know, but I've got a younger sibling too is deceased, so I do exactly the same thing?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Allison, did you want to say something?
I did, but I think you wanted us to practice for a little bit, right? So
That's right.
yeah, I can ask you later.
That's what I was gonna ask.
And yeah, I have. How do you say I have? Like, how would you? Because there's all these words for senior, sister, brother, Alyssa.
Well,
So-
let's start simple.
Okay.
If you're not sure what to do, then start with the formula ohokwa blank blank.
Okay.
Ohokwa chakuk Corey. Ohokwa yukweksu Jane.
Okay.
First, you need to get good at that. Once you're comfortable with that, then there's lots of other expressions we can learn. Yes, kid?
So then,
Oh, sorry. Yes, Allison?
so I would say, let's see here. Uhukwa, okay, Mama Mixu. Mixu is older sibling. Just okay, and then I just say my sister's name. Okay, yeah.
Caleb?
I'm just wondering, how do you say like I am the older sibling, or I am a sister, or I
The simplest way is the way Moira said it. Ma miaksuma.
ma mi.
Yeah, it's a one-word sentence. Ma miaksuma. I am the older one. Ma miaksuma. Did you want to say something, Katie?
That was exactly my question.
Okay. Yeah, some things in the channel are actually easier than English. That's why Ma miaksuma. I would say Taima. I'm the older. Taima.
For younger, it would be
So I'll give you 2 more minutes to work on that. Don't try to describe your entire family. Just try to describe 1 or 2 of your siblings and yourself.
So what did I say?
And then we'll share.
Ooh,
Are we just doing with anybody or
ooh.
I thought this is something you can do by yourself.
If you
But
are,
wanna do
yeah.
with a partner, go ahead.
Let's see. And then I would say.
Okay, so if you're doing
I am an older sibling, so
see, and this is where I don't know the ending. I think would have to be. Oh, I think it's the nut. This is the possessive. So my, and then this is like I, and then my. So they belong. One belongs to me. One child belongs to me, right? So you would say two belong.
But it's not
to me.
sawa. It's just sawa.
I know, but I'm trying to see where the ending is. And he told us that the ak and the ak are the possessive. So I see this as the possessive, the ak, right?
Adam,
So
if I were to say
ak,
my brothers are
What do you want?
Ryan and James, would I
So
say
how do you say two kids? So would it be?
What do you want to say? I have two kids?
Yeah.
Yes.
Or- I just lost it. So where?
Sawa.
Where's the suffix?
So
Like where's?
just is the suffix.
Yeah.
It's a wa when it attaches to a suffix.
Okay.
When it's a separate word, it's a walk.
Could I say?
And so walk
Yeah.
is special that way. So you just say akranak.
Atlana.
Akranak.
Yeah. There you go.
And if you had three, it would be
So you can change all
katsanaka.
of these.
And so what do you do with moo? Because it's the vowel at the end.
Munaka.
Moonak.
Yeah. So
But
walk is
these-
just special. It changes to so
No,
walk
Okay,
when it
so-
attaches.
Okay.
And
Moo.
when it
So
attaches to
I
counting
wanna say little
suffixes, it
sister or the
changes to
little
no.
Nak.
Can I say?
But the other word,
Take
the other
that
ones
You
are
can pluralize the quick sounds.
Nuak.
Yeah, you can say is if you want to put is on there to make it.
Munaka. Oh, it's gonna become long actually. So it's gonna become munaka.
Nuna.
And you
Oh,
can
yeah, 'cause
also
that's-
pluralize
Nak
this.
is one of
You
the
could- so there's
suffixes
another way to
that's
say younger
long
sister.
if it's the second
Yes.
syllable.
You
So I have.
the younger sisters.
Usikata u.
Yes.
So what is the accent over it? Where are
You
you?
don't want to.
Oh,
So
here?
added another you.
Right. And when you
No,
add.
I can
another
say,
syllable-
can I do that? Love you.
Yeah,
My
but you
older
have to
sister.
put that.
Before.
And
Do
then
I?
I'd say, atla.
Adam, can I just say mommy?
Oh, sorry.
That's
And then so I would say
What is that number?
Memexuma.
Okay, so
she is the younger sister.
Moo.
There's that I.
Muna. Muna.
If you want to say I, then it needs to end in a package.
Tatness.
Okay, awesome. I'm the younger sibling.
Oh, okay. So it was Mamexuma. You were the oldest.
Ryan,
And you
Ish,
have
James.
4 siblings?
Ish,
Oh,
James,
yeah.
Tatness.
Oh, children. Oh, okay. Okay. And I could also
And
say.
is Sarah the oldest?
Mom
So mom mixu just means that
Julia.
Sarah is older than someone.
Mm-hmm.
But what you mean is not older, but oldest, right?
4 kids.
So you could call her Taima Sarah. That's one way to say it. Taima Sarah. Sarah is the oldest. Another way to, you can
That's
also.
why I work
make
part-time.
mom
I'm like, no, I'm doing full.
into
Yeah, how old
a
are they?
superlative.
My
You can
oldest
say
is graduating.
Ma.
And then the
Boy or
youngest.
girl?
Ma
Girl.
Mitsusa means the
Then the
oldest.
baby. I was talking about the baby. He's my 5-year-old who's still
Sarah.
Yeah.
counting out his
Or Taima.
Mm-hmm.
So crazy when they
Point
get
of,
to grade 12. They're just like
It's
Odie? Otis? Yeah.
Otis.
And Odie is something.
Yeah. Is he the older one? Is he kindergarten yet?
Grade 1.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah.
And yours is a 5 as well. Is it kindergarten?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
What school is it in?
Albury. There.
Oklahoma, it's Christina. Christina is my older sister.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Uetsuma. Should be a
so
hard C, not a C.
Okay, so
Uetsuma. I in the middle. Sister.
Na
Ahokwa Hachim Sexajik. My brother's Jake.
awa
Yep, that's it.
na ka no atlan atlanak
Okay, let's share what we have. It's okay if it's not perfect. You'll have all week to perfect it and then present it to us again next week. So for now, just share what you have.
Okay.
All right, I'll go and then Angie will be next.
Okay.
I
got two. I'm gonna.
Adam, my name is Adam. Tayima, I'm the oldest. Hatsanaka, Hluchmukmina. I have three sisters. Hatsanaka, Hluchmukmina. Chu.
Okay, I did something a little different. I was trying to figure it out. Uquitah Kalaktik Earl Jr. Uquitah Yuquitsu Eileen.
Oh, true. So, Ahokwita Kathatik Earl Jr., my younger brother was Earl Jr.
Yeah.
Ahokwita Yukwitsu Eileen, my younger sister was Eileen. True, very good. Okay, who's next?
I'll go.
All right.
Uha Hinatinis, Taima, Atlanaka, Fluch Moop Min, Fluch Moop Min. Atlanaka, Ha Jim Sik Su.
Oh. Atlanak we'en Hachim Setsu Hinatinis. So Brittany has two brothers.
Yes.
Atlanak we'en. Ju, who's next? Go ahead, Caitlin.
Uklama, Caitlin. Oatsuma, Ohokwa Miaksu, Christina. Ohokwa Hachim Siksu, Jake. Is that right?
True, Kokucho minutes. So you're the middle sibling. Your older sister is Christina. Your younger sister is Jake. So
Younger brother's Jake.
Younger brother, right? Sorry.
Did I say brother? Yeah.
Yeah, you did say
Okay.
brother. Yeah, I misspoke. Yeah, so you described the three of you as Mamikso, Uatsu, Hachim Six. True, who's next?
I'll go.
Go ahead, Allison.
Let's see here. Uatuma. Uhukuta Mixu Julia and Atlanak Tatneis.
Oh, true.
True.
So like Caitlin, you're in Uatsu.
Mm-hmm.
You had an older sister, Mamikso.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanak it's Tlatnis, and you have two children.
Mm-hmm.
True. Go ahead, Mara.
Mameksu Ma and Munak Tatneris.
Oh, true. Munaka it's Tlatnis, Mamikso it's.
Oh, should I say what did you say again? You said it differently.
Oh, I'm saying it from my point of view,
okay.
because to me, you're a you, not an I. So, Mamikso it's. You are an older sibling.
Yes.
True, Giles.
Uhokwa, Chooks Me Andy, Munaka Tatna, Mamiksu Me. What's the suffix on that? Mamiksu Ma, Uhokwa, Uatsu, Clive, Uhokwa, Hlutsmoop, Harriet.
Oh, true. Kwawe and Suk Moira, Munake it's Tatna. Like Moira, you have 4 children.
Yeah.
And you have an older brother who's the Uatsu.
And I'd say I have a younger brother.
Oh, he's the Uatsu. Your younger brother's the Uatsu.
Yeah, Uhokwa Uatsu.
And you're the Mamiksu, which is why you said Mamiksuma.
Yeah.
True. Zach.
Grandma Zach. Taima. Sawanaka Hatsim Siksu. Munaka Tatneus.
Oh, true. Lots of people have 4 children.
Mm.
4 is the new 6.
Uklama Pam, Ma Mitsu Ma, Anak Naka Lutsmu Punish Minha, sorry. And I would like to say they are, and I can't quite figure out how that to do, Kwa At Si Wa. Did I say it right? My sisters are twins.
Yeah, if you want to use the word quiet sitma,
Yeah.
quiet sitma ash is the simplest way to say that. Quiet sitma ash. They are twins. Quiet sitma ash. Interesting. So you're an older sibling, and your 2 younger siblings who are twins.
That's right.
True. Katie?
Uklama Katie, Ohokwa Mamiexu Sarah, Ohokwa Wah Haha Chimsiksu Ryan Ish James, Yuquiksumach.
Oh, 2.
Ha
So you're a baby.
ha. Can I say not Yakak? Like they always refer to me as the baby as well. Can
Yeah.
I refer to myself as that?
Not yakaka.
Would you just add ma?
Not yakaka.
Ma?
Well, because not yakaka ends in a consonant, you won't pronounce the M of ma.
Oh.
So not yakaka.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
would literally mean I am a baby. Yeah, and I think you could say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
Or is-
in this context.
The baby, but that would be the E at the end.
Yeah, well, that's where the structures of Nuchanolf in English are different enough that you can't translate
Yeah,
the.
directly.
Yeah, just because we would say the in English doesn't mean we would say the in Nuchanolf.
Yeah.
David?
Uklama David. Uklawen Sitra Ayman. Tawanak Si Hluchmuk Ukla Chelsea. Ahat Daisi. Chuch.
Chu. So 1 younger sister, you are the Tayi. A Tayi of 2. Hey, Chu, Heather.
Mamixuma, Yayukiksu, Such movement, and brothers, Hahachim Siksu. Okay.
Chu.
That's it.
It's you're an older sibling.
Mhm.
You have younger sisters and younger brothers.
Yes. That's what I was trying to say.
Chu. Jester Yakok Mahsak Niwa Ahachim Sakit Tuchmukmin Hakit.
I keep losing that word, Adam. Family.
Ma'ayish.
We should have all said that.
Ma'ayish.
Family, we're family. First, I'll say it in English. Can I? There were 7 of us in the family. And it was on a New Year's Eve. My mother and my youngest sister was burned to death in the house about 60 years ago. So there were 7 of us left. Just Creda, Rosie, Johnny, Murray, me, Lorraine, and Francis. That's my family. And my children, I looked after 15. My wife had another husband, and I had 7 of my own. I lost 1. I lost 2 brothers and 1 sister inside of 5 years through cancer these last 5 years.
Yeah.
Misisyon nakat yung kwekso, mamekso. No, wekso, iksa na hawik itaksa. Akat wi kaput. Nahalsalsu dat neisuks. Who ashuk. We ha umqi ataytras. Qamataksu hishuk. Who asuk teach sin hap. Yeah, miss. Unakat dat neis. Maybe you can explain to them. Thank you.
Having children is an important thing. Like most of you, I suppose, we take care of each other.
Yeah.
True. Chester. Thank you, everyone, for telling us about your families. There's a lot that we want to be able to say about our families, and these sentences can get complicated very quickly. So my most general piece of advice for preparing your introductions is to start simple. The simplest formula to use is ohokwa blank blank. You need to master that before you can learn more sentences. Once you master that, there's lots more things we can learn to say. And our eventual goal is to be able to stand up and introduce ourselves and our families whenever called upon, and know what we want to say, but be able to tailor it to the occasion. I think we will continue talking about family next week. We'll start with a free introduction, so we'll go around and everyone will have a chance to introduce themselves. And I'm also happy to say that starting next week, we're moving to Hahopayuk School. I thank Brittany and Huayet for hosting us here. This has been an excellent meeting space, and we would happily keep meeting here forever. But we want to also bring what we're doing to Hahopayuk and hopefully involve more people there. So Caitlin is going to host us in her classroom next week. And we will send you more details about that by email. If you don't use email, talk to someone who does. I'll see you all next Thursday at Hahopayuk.
How old are your kids, Jones? Oh.
And they call me.
I'm 7. It's not orange.
Yes.
It's great.
It used to be. What did I miss?
Oh.
I tried not to look at the notes.
Yeah, I read. Yeah, I read what you.
Did I get most of it?
Yeah, you did. Yeah, that's very good. I'm glad you.
This one is to go by. To go by. To go.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could also.
Was there supposed to be an end? In our notes, it had another ending.
Ni. Or you could ni. Yeah. Ni means we.
Yeah.